Hi everyone and welcome to Darlene's Creative Studio. I just want to do a really quick flip through of my book one in my Reader's Digest Denim series. I just finished this today and I want to do a really quick flip through. I've used denim on the spine. These are Reader's Digest covers. I believe they're from about the 1950s. I've used a book plate and put the word journal inside the book plate. I've kept them plain and simple on the outside. It has an elastic closure with an eyelet on the back, and this is one of those Tim Holtz bulb closures. It just screws in there. This journal is approximately 5 by 7 and it has 200 pages, 5 signatures, and there's 40 pages in each signature. And I've added some little headers and fabric on the top and bottom. On the inside, I've added a triple pocket here and just thrown in some tags that you can use. And I've added my business card. Each signature has a little tab on the side. And I've decorated the fronts of the signatures. They were scrapbooking paper that I tea stained, but I wanted to give you some writing surface, so I've decorated the fronts of each of the signatures. This one just has a little card here in the pocket and the envelope, and there's some writing space there. I've created some tickets using the end papers from the Reader's Digest. When I was cutting them apart, I kept all the colored papers and created some vintage looking tickets out of the papers, the end papers. So I have used those throughout. Some of my tea stain labels that I've made and some vintage postage stamps as well. And there's some more of the tickets that I've purchased online. There's tea stain paper, craft paper. I've stenciled throughout the whole book to give it a little bit of substance each page. I've added some vintage papers and used some vintage style rubber stamping throughout. This is vintage ledger paper from about a 1918 ledger. And there's some tea stain papers, and again there is some stenciling on each of the pages. I've used some of my rubber stamps. There's some lined paper, some antique photocopy paper, more of the lined paper. This is vintage ledger paper. It is really thick. It was from a very old ledger that I purchased online, and the paper came, it's really thick. It's not like the really thin ledger paper that you buy today. I've added some stenciling. This is the piece of the ledger paper. I've used, like I say, some stamps throughout. And some of my labels there. Each of the signatures has some vintage receipts or some rubber stamping, some postage on there, or some of those tickets. This is a little envelope, has another little label in there, and you just tuck it underneath. This has a little card here. And again, just similar pages throughout each of the signatures, but I try to make sure that I put papers in that will be writing space. I like journals where you can write in them, use them for journaling, projects, your creative journals. And I've tried to use a variety of different papers. This is from a vintage book. I believe it was 1908, the book was. The paper is very fragile. It literally broke as I was taking it out of the book. It just breaks in 2 pieces. So I've used this. I really like some of the images that were in the book, so I've used those throughout the book as well. And again, some more of the postage. This is a little envelope with a piece of paper in there, and that just tucks underneath that little piece there. Some more of that ledger paper, craft paper. This is sketchbooking paper. And I've used some more of my labels in there. This is some eco paper it was a digital download from, I believe the lady's name is Poppiness, and she has some really lovely eco paper, and I just printed that on the back with some scrapbooking paper. Some more of my tickets and receipts, and another little tuck spot there, and then this one also opens up and it has a little tag inside the pocket. Some graph paper from a vintage book. So lots of writing space, lots of writing surface. You can add more to the pages. You can add envelopes and postcards and tuck spots if you like. There's lots of room to add more to it. But again, I like to write in my journals, so I've left a lot of raw space for you to do that. This is also from that vintage book. Some of the paragraphs had their own little images, and I just cut some of those out. Again, that has paper inside, and it just tucks under there. More vintage postage. I wanted to give the pages some stenciling, just to give them a little bit more decoration, if you will. There we go. And then in the back, I've used, this was a vintage receipt that I received in my monthly Your Creative Studio package. So I've used some of those. Here's another one here on this envelope. I made this envelope out of a book page. It does have a tuck spot behind, as well as you open it up and the envelope is actually good for putting things in them as well. And then this elastic actually comes out. You can pull it right out, and I've just added these little feet so it stops it from coming out. So you can change this to a ball and chain or another kind of closure if you like. But that's basically the first book in my series. I have 6 others. Some are green. I also have created an art journal for myself using a Reader's Digest. This one has a 1.5 inch spine. I've made this one a 1 3/4, and I've used mixed media paper in this one. I'm going to make a couple more with some watercolor paper inside. I'm going to try some watercolor paper, and again, it has the same closure, and this is just the mixed media paper. And I'm going to glue these down to the papers so that they stay flat. But this is the mixed media paper, and I've just hand sewn them in with some wax linen threads, so they're nice and sturdy. And this one is for myself, but I will make a couple more with some of the mixed media as well as some watercolor paper. So that's it for my first book. I'm going to move on to the next books. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to put this on my Etsy shop, so you'll find it there. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to my channel. See you real soon.